Stocks on Wall Street end Friday's trading session higher in a big market rebound after a Fed official suggests the central bank could cut rates in December. The Dow gains over 500 points while the Nasdaq was up 200. Markets in Asia have opened higher, reflecting cues from Wall Street on revived rate cut hopes from the Fed. The GIFT Nifty is indicating a gap up start for our own markets. Crude oil prices extend losses for the fourth straight session amidst possibilities of a Russia-Ukraine peace deal. Gold prices are steady as traders ramp up December rate cut bets yet again. And Royal Enfield enters its 125th year. In a rare interview, CEO B. Govindarajan says they grew by 50% year-on-year in the festive season owing to the GST cuts. Adds that the motorcycle industry is growing 8% and the growth momentum will continue. That is a CNBC TV18 exclusive. And Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal tells CNBC TV18 that the first phase of a potential India-Israel FTA is expected to kickstart benefits for both economies. He added that the R&D is a key driver for future collaborations. On talks with the European Union and the US, the minister says that the negotiations are on case-to-case basis and we have to decide what to open up and what not. An important trading week lies ahead of us. Good morning. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18 in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Hormuz Fatakia. Let's first take a look at how the Asian markets have started off. And they're reflecting the handover from Wall Street last Friday. Hang Seng up 1%. The Taiwanese index also up 0.4%. The Japanese markets are shut today on account of a holiday. The Kospi in South Korea trading with gains of 1% as well. The Shanghai Composite, though, trading around the flat line, not doing too much in what is otherwise a positive looking screen for the Asian markets. And that is, of course, on the back of a very strong session on Wall Street that we had last Friday. We'll talk more about that as the session goes by. Pull up the GIFT Nifty and give you an idea of how we are likely to start off. Well, after a bit of a breather that we took on Friday, the implied open is suggesting a gap up of around 85 points. So somewhere around the mark of 26,150 is what the implied open is currently suggesting is where the Nifty is likely to start off if these gains sustain by market open. But to set you up for today's trade, our research team is here. They'll tell you about the trade setup, the stocks you need to keep an eye out for, and of course the setup on the F&O side of things as well. First up, Ekta is here to tell us all the market cues that we need to watch out for. Ekta, good morning. There's a positive handover from Wall Street, but what are some of the important cues you're watching out for?
Hi, Hormuz. Morning. Well, yes, just to recap, on Friday, the markets did snap that two-day gaining streak and all of the major indices did close in the red. But what really stood out besides the equity markets is what took place in the currency markets. We had the rupee, which hit a lifetime low of 89.49. It was the biggest intraday fall we've seen in 6 months, and it was weighed down possibly by the US-India trade-related concerns, a global risk-off, which we've seen. With regards to the US markets, yes, the Dow did close 500 points higher in a big market rebound which took place as the Fed Reserve Chairman, President John Williams said that central bank could possibly cut rates again this year. And we're seeing that rebound take place in Asia as well. The US markets, however, will be closed with regards due to Thanksgiving. But nonetheless, the Asian optimism is probably going to seep into the Indian markets. But let's see whether that sustains or not. So it is indicating maybe a gap up for the Indian markets. Now, watch out for a couple of factors, which would be the rupee movement in today's trading session, the Nifty recovery and sustaining above 26,100, mid-caps underperforming because the mid-caps were down 1% last week versus the Nifty, which was up around 1%, and the IT outperformance because the IT sector itself was up around 2% last week. And Indigo is going to be replacing Tata Motors PV in the sensex from December 22nd. So that would be one of the stocks that I'll definitely keep on my radar.
Ekta, thank you for that update. Of course, we will keep an eye out on Indigo as well. But Sudarshan is now here to tell us all the cues from the F&O space. Sudarshan, good morning. Yet another day, yet another attempt at the record highs. But what's the F&O data indicating?
Good morning, Harmaz. So Qs are looking largely mixed. If you talk about the global Qs, yes, GIFT Nifty is indicating that we'll open with a gain of almost 80 to 90 points. But Qs on the domestic front, especially from the FNO side, are looking largely on the short side. So first, talking about the flows in the index futures on Friday, we have seen FI selling more than rupees 800 crore. They have reduced long positions more than 1,600 contracts, and also they have added short positions of more than 2,670 contracts, and their longs exposure remains around 12%. But on the short side, they continue to be heavily shorted, and shorts exposure remains 88%. Look at the options data, what has happened. On the call side, 26,100 call has seen huge increase in the open interest. Similar thing was done for 26,250, and there was a sharp fall in the premium. At the end, premium for 26,100 was 96, 26,250. Premium was almost 39. On the put side, what happened? 26,000, 25,900. Both these put options have seen premium has fallen for these put options as well. But at the same time, there was a shedding of shares in the open interest. Where the support came, 25,700, where we saw increase in the number of shares in the open interest. At the same time, there was a premium was just like around 14. So larger range for Nifty would be 25,850 to 26,250. So I've taken the support at 25,850, resistance again 26,250. For Nifty Bank, support would be around 58,300 and resistance would be 59,450. That's around record high. Two stocks that remain in the band, SAIL and Sammaan Capital. Some of the stocks that I'll keep an eye on first. IndusInd Bank has been seeing fresh longs, and Max Health also has seen fresh longs even on Friday. And last one is all the defense names were under pressure, so I'll keep an eye on Mazgaon Dock.
Sudarshan, thank you for that update as well. Keep an eye out on all of these names. Take a short break. All the action from Wall Street on the other side. Welcome back. The Asian markets continue to remain steady as we speak. The Kospi is still up around 0.8%. The Shanghai Composite, though, has slipped into the red as we speak, still 0.25% lower, but the Hang Seng still holding on to gains of around about 1%. The GIFT Nifty at the start of the show was around about 80 points high, still continues to remain at those levels. So a gap up nonetheless is what we are anticipating. On to Wall Street then. It was a positive session after days of selling pressure that the indices witnessed, and the Dow ending around 500 points higher. That came after the New York Fed President John Williams suggested that one more rate cut is likely in the near term. CNBC's Steve Kovac gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
U.S. markets were up sharply across the major indexes in Friday trading as Wall Street rebounded from Thursday's sell-off after a Fed member suggested another interest rate cut could be coming. The Dow gained 493 points, the S&P 500 up by 64 points, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq was up 195 points. New York Fed President John Williams said Friday the central bank could lower rates in, quote, the near term, arguing that labor market weakness poses a bigger threat than higher inflation. Those comments help send stocks higher and help boost sentiment about another rate cut this year. The CME's Fed Watch tool put the chances of a rate cut next month at 70% after those Williams comments. The prior day, those odds were at just 40%. Paramount, Skydance, Netflix, and our current parent company Comcast formally submitted takeover offers for Warner Brothers Discovery. People familiar with the matter tell CNBC that Paramount Skydance has been weighing whether to submit a higher bid than a previously rejected offer of $23.50 a share. Both Comcast and Netflix bid only for the film and streaming assets, the Warner Brothers Studio and HBO Max. The size and structure of the offers were not immediately clear. Warner Brothers Discovery is aiming to have the sale process wrapped up by the end of December. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you, Mumbai.
That's what selling pressure does to you. And John Williams saying that a rate cut is possible in the near term, not specifying that it would be December. But the markets have latched onto that in a positive fashion, and it shows in the Dow futures as well earlier this morning, still trading with gains of around 130 points, and that is reflecting across Asia and on the GIFT Nifty as well. Let's now listen into what market experts believe that the Fed will do in the December policy.
I've always said the Fed cares about the credit markets. They don't care about the equity markets directly. And I think the real issue here that so many people have been talking about is, will there be a divisive vote? Will we have 3 governors vote against Powell, or will the bankers argue the opposite? I think that's the real issue, to see what comes out of this meeting. And I think it's very important, Becky, to realize there's nothing new about this. 4 of the governors voted against Paul Volcker at one point at the instruction of President Reagan, who wanted lower interest rates. Volcker resisted. He nearly quit his job because of that.
What's causing the tremors under the market? And to me, I think the answer is, and I think the real thing is the Fed and the levered part of the markets and the tightened liquidity in those areas. It seems very clear that the Fed's cutting stance, when it went below 50%, really accelerated to the downside. And that's because the levered parts of the market that are illiquid were raising cash where they needed to raise. So you saw crypto lead to the downside. The deleveraging was happening in crypto. Investors sold what they needed to do to cover that. And I think what the market is saying, that the market now needs a third cut for this year.
It nets out as uncertain. It nets out as whatever the outcome is going to be controversial, it's going to be messy, and it will reflect a divided Fed. The market is all over the place on this, Mike. As you know, in the last 3 weeks alone, the implied probability of a December cut went from the 90% to the 30% and now to the 60s. Those are massive moves for a meeting that is on December 10th. So it reflects what you said, and this is why it's going to remain uncertain. The data isn't going to resolve this, especially as we heard that we won't get the October CPI inflation report.
Interesting developments there with regards to the Fed, despite majority of the Fed members in recent past saying that the more appropriate thing to do would be to hold on to interest rates in December. Let's see what happens on the 10th of December. But US President Donald Trump has made some important remarks in the high-stakes Ukraine-Russia peace talks on Sunday, publicly accusing Kyiv's leaders of showing zero gratitude for the US support. Now, this comes as US officials in Geneva were working towards showing a united front. Trump's Truth Social comments landed at a delicate moment. His administration is pressing Ukraine to accept a 28-point peace proposal by Thanksgiving, even as the confusion over the plan's authorship and concerns from the European allies and US lawmakers have raised questions about whose interests it serves. US officials, the senior ones, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, met with Ukrainian officials in Geneva this weekend to move the peace talks forward with the goal of ending the war. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Ukraine was grateful to the US and to President Donald Trump for all the efforts aimed at helping Kyiv. He said, and I quote, "Ukraine is grateful to the United States, to every American heart, and personally to President Trump for the assistance that, starting with the javelins, has been saving Ukrainian lives." These comments come after Trump said that Ukraine's leaders had expressed zero gratitude for their assistance. As we slip into a short break, here's some good news for our viewers. India's business news leader is now just a click away, introducing the CNBC TV18 all-new app, which gets you breaking news, in-depth articles and financial world updates right at your fingertips. You can download the app from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, or even scan the QR code that is up on your screens. We take a short break. We'll be back with more on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, Manisha Gupta joins in with all the updates from the commodity space. Manisha, good morning. What's on your radar today?
Thank you for that, Hormuz. Well, I'm looking at the dollar index trading at a 6-month highs as investors assess the U.S. Fed monetary policy outlook. The markets now are pricing in a higher 69% chance of a 25 basis point rate cut. There are fiscal strains in Europe, and it's the reason that we've seen those currencies, including the pound sterling and euro, decline versus the U.S. dollar. That in turn should have been helpful for commodity markets, but that's not what we are looking at right now. Because when you look at the crude oil prices, we are trading at a 1-month lows. A decline of 3% is what crude has done in the month of November till time. It's on track for a fourth monthly decline, but what the street will watch out for is the possibility of a Russia-Ukraine peace deal. That is what is taking premium off the crude oil prices. In the metal space, whether it's gold, silver, copper, aluminum, all of these metals have seen a bit of a decline. It is a strong U.S. labor data, the dovish central bank signals, soft U.S. yields, all of that continues to weigh onto the market.
Manisha, thank you for that update there from the commodities market. Now, as Royal Enfield celebrates 125 years, the company's CEO takes a ride with CNBC TV18's Parikshit Luthra on the streets of Goa to take us through the experience of their motorcycles. Take a look.
We'll just go for a spin and then we'll come back and start talking about it.
I think great idea. I'll choose the cruiser. Let's get ready. Let's put our jackets on. We'll take a quick spin and come back.
Come.
All right, let's
Can't
start.
Stop.
Speaking to CNBC TV18 on their 125th anniversary, Royal Enfield CEO says that they will continue to focus on middleweight motorcycles and also takes us through the journey over the years. Listen in.
Go with 125th year of Royal Enfield. You're entering into your 125th year. Could you give us a sense of the vision going forward?
See, Royal Enfield is the oldest motorcycle brand in continuous production for the past 125 years. Very few brands can actually climb. Over this 125 years, this brand has gone through a lot of challenges, some seminal moments, but yet it withstood all the storm and became very successful. Primarily, we started making motorcycles in the middleweight segment. That's what the focus is. As an organization, we had a choice at a point of time what sort of a motorcycle we have to make. We took a decision and we said that less is more. We won't do too many things. We will focus on middleweight. And continuously we have been doing it. So at a point of time we were making 4,000 motorcycles per month. Currently we make almost 4,000 motorcycles per day. And last year we crossed about 1 million motorcycles. So that has been a success story for Royal Enfield. What is that? It's built based on what? It's built based on our understanding with the community and ride with the community. We are riders, myself, Siddharth, we all ride, and our top management ride. So we ride with the community, learn from them, come back, go to the drawing board, design the motorcycles, make the motorcycles, ride, test it, take it back to the community. That's what it is. In fact, the Motoverse is our annual motorcycling festival. We do every year. In fact, this year we had, if I'm right, about 35,000 plus footfall. And this is a place where we celebrate motorcycles, customs, art, music. That's why every year we make it bigger, better. So that's the Royal Enfield as a DNA. From here, what do we see? We do see the motorcycling culture, which is getting built, and we are an evangelist in a way. We want the motorcycling culture to spread across the globe. In India, in fact, we have been very successful, and we hold a market share of almost about 89% in the middleweight. Outside India, we are holding a market share of almost 9% in the middleweight, but still we see there's a huge scope for us to create one more success story, what we have created in India.
We'll definitely touch base with Parikshit sometime in the day to ask him whether he had fun riding that Royal Enfield motorcycle. Now on to other updates then. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the G20 leaders at the summit in Johannesburg in South Africa, where he underlined India's approach to AI and also extended an invitation to all the leaders to attend the AI Impact Summit, which is to be held in India in February of next year. The Prime Minister also met with Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and the IMF chief on the sidelines of the summit. And as we wrap up on Power Breakfast, we leave you with some heartening news. India has won the inaugural T20 Blind Women's World Cup after defeating Nepal by 7 wickets in the final played at the Pisara Oval in Colombo. Phula Saren top scored for India in the run chase with 44 not out. India had beaten Australia in the first semi-final, while Nepal had won against Pakistan in the second semi-final on Saturday. more glory for India in the World Cups. But with that, we take your leave on this edition of Power Breakfast from me and the team. Thank you so much for watching. Bazaar Morning Call on the other side to set you up for the day's trade.